Ghastly Garlic Episode 14. The Door to Hell. Prologue. In 1971, a group of Soviet geologists ventured into the Karakum Desert in central Turkmenistan, their mission driven by the quest for oil fields. The endless stretch of sand and rock held the promise of untapped resources beneath its arid surface. Led by Dr. Sergei Ivanov, the team believed they had pinpointed the location of a substantial oil field. Excitement buzzed in the air as they began to drill, the heavy machinery biting into the earth with relentless determination. But the ground was unsteady, and before they could secure their equipment, the site collapsed. A massive sinkhole swallowed their machinery, leaving the scientists scrambling for safety. Nearby, the desert floor continued to give way, creating a series of craters that scarred the landscape. The largest of these craters measured approximately 230 feet across and 65 feet deep. No one was hurt in the initial collapse, but the scientists faced a new, insidious problem. Natural gas, composed mostly of methane, was escaping from the exposed craters. The air filled with the faint, sickly sweet smell of gas, and the scientists knew they had to act quickly. Methane could displace oxygen, making it difficult to breathe, and it was highly flammable. They decided the safest course of action was to light the gas on fire, hoping it would burn off within a few weeks. Over 45 years later, the crater still burns. The locals call it the Door to Hell, or the Gates of Hell. Thousands of spiders can be seen throwing themselves into the pit, drawn by the dancing flames. The inferno shows no sign of abating, and scientists are at a loss to explain just how much natural gas continues to feed the fire. Chapter 1, The Descent. The Karakum Desert, 1971. The sun beat down mercilessly on the team of geologists, their faces smeared with sweat and dust. Dr. Sergei Ivanov wiped his brow, squinting against the glare. He was a seasoned scientist, his graying hair and weathered face a testament to years spent in the field. He turned to his assistant, Pavel, a young and eager geologist fresh out of university. "Pavel, check the pressure readings again," Ivanov ordered. "We need to ensure everything is stable before we proceed any further." Pavel nodded, adjusting his glasses as he studied the gauges. "Everything looks good, Dr. Ivanov. Pressure is holding steady." Ivanov nodded, satisfied. "Good. Let's proceed with the drilling." The machinery roared to life, the drill biting into the earth with a ferocity that matched the team's excitement. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. The scientists exchanged panicked glances as the earth trembled and then gave way. "Everyone, back!" Ivanov shouted, grabbing Pavel's arm and pulling him to safety. They watched in horror as the ground collapsed, swallowing their equipment in a deafening roar. The dust settled, revealing a gaping hole where the drilling site had been. Ivanov's heart pounded in his chest as he surveyed the damage. "Is everyone okay?" he called out, his voice hoarse. A chorus of shaken voices responded, and Ivanov breathed a sigh of relief. No one was hurt, but their equipment was gone, buried in the depths of the earth. "We need to assess the situation," Ivanov said, trying to maintain his composure. "Pavel, gather the team and start taking measurements. We need to understand what we are dealing with here." As the team set to work, Ivanov couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. The ground continued to shift, creating more craters that dotted the landscape like pockmarks. Something about the situation felt profoundly wrong, and Ivanov couldn't shake the nagging thought that they had disturbed something that should have been left alone. Chapter 2, The Flame. Days turned into weeks, and the team of geologists struggled to come to terms with their situation. The craters continued to emit natural gas, the faint smell of methane a constant reminder of the danger lurking beneath the surface. Animals in the area began to die, their lifeless bodies a grim testament to the toxic fumes. Ivanov and his team debated their options, knowing they had to act before the situation worsened. "We can't leave it like this," Ivanov said during one of their meetings. "The gas is too dangerous. We need to burn it off." Pavel looked uneasy. "Are you sure that's a good idea, Dr. Ivanov? What if the fire spreads?" "We don't have a choice," Ivanov replied grimly. "The gas is a ticking time bomb. If it accumulates to dangerous levels, a single spark could trigger an explosion." Reluctantly, the team agreed. They set up a controlled burn, igniting the gas in the largest crater. Flames leapt into the sky, casting an eerie glow over the desert. The fire was supposed to burn out within a few weeks, but as time passed, it showed no signs of diminishing. Months later, the crater still burned. The locals began to refer to it as the door to hell, the name a reflection of the fear and awe it inspired. Thousands of spiders were drawn to the flames, their bodies consumed by the inferno. The sight was both mesmerizing and horrifying, a macabre dance of death that left the scientists questioning the true nature of the fire. Chapter 3: The Darkness Below. In the years that followed, the legend of the door to hell grew. Stories circulated of strange occurrences near the crater, of whispers carried on the wind and shadowy figures seen in the flickering light. Tourists and thrill-seekers flocked to the site, eager to glimpse the inferno that defied explanation. Ivanov, now an old man, returned to the Karakum Desert one last time. He stood at the edge of the crater, the heat from the flames warming his face. Memories of that fateful day in 1971 flooded his mind, and he wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Pavel, now a respected geologist in his own right, joined him. "Dr. Ivanov, it's been a long time," he said, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "It has," Ivanov replied, his eyes never leaving the flames. "I had to see it one more time." Pavel nodded, understanding. "Do you ever wonder if there's something more to this place? Something we can't explain?" Ivanov sighed. "I've thought about it every day since we lit that fire. There's something about this crater, something that feels wrong." As they stood in silence, a gust of wind carried a faint whisper to their ears. It was a sound unlike anything they had ever heard, a low, mournful wail that sent chills down their spines. "Did you hear that?" Pavel asked, his voice trembling. Ivanov nodded, his heart pounding. "Yes. And I think it's time we left." They turned to leave, but a sudden tremor shook the ground. The flames roared higher, and the air filled with the acrid smell of burning gas. Ivanov and Pavel stumbled, their fear mounting as the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They reached their vehicle and sped away, the sight of the burning crater growing smaller in the rearview mirror. The whispers followed them, a haunting reminder of the darkness they had unleashed. Chapter 4: The Unseen. Years passed, and the door to hell continued to burn. Scientists from around the world came to study the phenomenon, but none could explain why the fire persisted. The crater became a symbol of mystery and dread, its flames a constant reminder of the unknown. In a remote village near the Karakum Desert, strange occurrences began to plague the residents. Animals disappeared, and crops withered inexplicably. At night, villagers reported hearing whispers carried on the wind, eerie voices that seemed to come from the direction of the burning crater. An elder of the village, a woman named Zara, was the first to speak openly about the curse. "We have angered the spirits of the desert," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "The flames are a gateway to another world, a world of darkness and despair." The villagers were skeptical, but as the incidents grew more frequent, fear took hold. They sought the help of a local priest, Father Dimitri, who agreed to investigate the source of the disturbances. Father Dimitri was a pragmatic man, his faith rooted in reason and logic. He traveled to the edge of the Karakum Desert, determined to uncover the truth. As he approached the burning crater, he felt an overwhelming sense of unease. The whispers grew louder, filling his mind with a cacophony of voices. He knelt at the edge of the crater, praying for guidance. The flames flickered, casting shadows that seemed to dance in the periphery of his vision. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifted, and he stumbled, nearly falling into the abyss. In that moment, Father Dimitri saw something that defied explanation. A figure emerged from the flames, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. The priest's heart raced as the figure approached, its form shifting and writhing like a living nightmare. He scrambled to his feet, backing away in terror. The figure halted at the edge of the crater, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. Father Dimitri turned and fled, the whispers chasing him into the night. Chapter 5: The Revelation. Father Dimitri returned to the village, his mind reeling from the encounter. He gathered the villagers, recounting his experience with a voice that trembled with fear. "There is something in the flames," he said, "something that should not be. We must seal the crater and end this curse." The villagers were divided. Some believed Father Dimitri's tale, while others dismissed it as the ramblings of a frightened man. But as the strange occurrences continued, doubt gave way to fear. A group of villagers, led by Father Dimitri, journeyed to the burning crater. They carried with them tools and supplies, determined to seal the gateway and put an end to the terror. As they worked, the flames seemed to grow fiercer, as if resisting their efforts. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with an almost tangible sense of dread. The villagers worked tirelessly, their determination fueled by desperation. But as they toiled, a series of tremors shook the ground, threatening to undo their progress. Father Dimitri prayed fervently, his faith the only thing keeping him from succumbing to despair. As the final stone was put in place, a deafening roar filled the air. The ground shook violently, and the flames leapt higher, consuming the makeshift barrier. The villagers fled in terror, the whispers rising to a crescendo. Father Dimitri remained behind, his eyes fixed on the inferno. In that moment, he realized the truth. The door to hell was not just a physical phenomenon. It was a gateway to another realm, a place of unimaginable darkness. And they had unleashed something that could not be contained. Chapter 6: The Aftermath. The village never recovered from the terror that had plagued it. The whispers continued, haunting the villagers' dreams and driving some to madness. Father Dimitri, his faith shattered, retreated into seclusion, his mind tormented by the knowledge of what lay beyond the flames. The door to hell remained a burning testament to humanity's hubris. Scientists continued to study it, but none could explain why the fire persisted. Theories abounded, but the truth remained elusive, hidden in the depths of the crater. In the years that followed, the legend of the door to hell grew. It became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of understanding. Tourists and thrill-seekers continued to visit the site, drawn by the eerie allure of the flames. But those who ventured too close spoke of strange occurrences, of whispers carried on the wind and shadowy figures seen in the flickering light. They left with a sense of unease, a feeling that they had glimpsed something that should have remained hidden. The door to hell burned on, its flames a beacon of mystery and dread. And as the years passed, the question remained: had the geologists in 1971 truly discovered a gateway to another world? Or was the fire a manifestation of something far more sinister, a darkness that defied explanation? No one could say for certain. But one thing was clear: the Karakum Desert held secrets that would never be fully understood. And the door to hell was a reminder that some mysteries were best left unexplored. Epilogue. In a small, dimly lit room, an old man sat hunched over a desk, his hand trembling as he wrote. Dr. Sergei Ivanov's hair was now white, his face lined with the passage of time. He had spent the last years of his life consumed by the mystery of the door to hell, unable to escape the haunting memories of that fateful expedition. As he finished his letter, he placed it in an envelope and addressed it to Pavel. He knew his time was running out, but he needed to share his final thoughts with his former assistant. Dear Pavel, I write this letter with a heavy heart, knowing that my time is near. I have spent my life searching for answers, but the truth continues to elude me. The door to hell remains a burning enigma, a symbol of our arrogance and our ignorance. I fear that we have unleashed something far beyond our understanding. The whispers haunt my dreams, and I cannot escape the feeling that we have disturbed a force that should have remained buried. Take care, my friend, and remember, some doors should never be opened. Yours always, Sergei. Ivanov sealed the envelope and placed it on the desk. As he looked out the window, the setting sun casting long shadows across the room, he felt a sense of peace. The flames of the door to hell continued to burn, a reminder of the mysteries that lay just beyond the edge of human understanding. And as the darkness closed in, Ivanov knew that some questions would never be answered, and some secrets would remain forever hidden in the depths of the Karakum Desert. The end.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. If you enjoyed our exploration of ghosts, mythical creatures, and urban legends, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling episodes. Until next time, my beloved listeners.